So we're back in the boatyard and we've got a few important jobs to do on Tally-Ho before we can leave on our big voyage back towards the UK to race in the Fastnet race in 2027. But right now, we don't know which direction we're going to take to get back to the UK. We don't know when we're going to leave. We don't quite know if we're going to stay here to do the jobs or how or where we're going to do them. I don't know if I'm holding on to my workshop. There's a lot of questions. And so we're going to be trying to figure out some of those answers in this video. We're going to discuss different routes back to the UK and what I might be doing with the workshop here. But also, and alongside that, I'm going to be making a pair of oars because the pair of oars that we used this summer were borrowed from our friend Russell, and I need to give them back before we can set off again. So this is one of the oars that I've been using all summer for the PT11 rowing dinghy, and it's a very nice oar, but these are not actually my oars. They were borrowed from Russell, who built the PT11, and so I need to return them and I need to build a couple of oars for myself. And so I've actually already started this. I found a couple of very nice pieces of tight-grained Douglas Fir. This is one of them, and I've already cut them down to an octagon shape, and the next step is to take down the corners further and eventually turn it into a round pole, and then it'll be time to put the blades on the end. So the shafts of the oars have been shaped. They're round all the way down and they have a handle on one end. And on the other end, there's this long tapered piece which is going to fit into one of these carbon fiber blades, which I got from Russell. And so there's a socket in each blade, and to get the accurate shape of the inside of the socket, I just used two pieces of doorskin plywood. They're both tapered, they're both undersize, and I put them in and with hot glue on them and stuck them together to get the exact shape of the inside of this. And then I used this pattern to shape this tapered piece. And I actually did that before I started cutting into the square section of this piece. This was the first thing I did before I did any shaping. So now I'm ready to glue the blades onto the shafts, and then I'll have to do a little bit of filling and fairing. So to get Tally-Ho to the UK for 2027 to race in the Fastnet race, there are several viable routes. In fact, there's a million different routes, but there's 4 broad directions we could go. And I'm going to simplify these a little bit into saying we can go north, east, south, or west. Starting with east, which is the most obvious one, means going south and then east through the Panama Canal, up through the Atlantic. South means going all the way south through the Pacific and around Cape Horn. West means going west around the world, and that could mean going south of South Africa or going through the Indian Ocean and the Suez Canal and the Mediterranean. And north means going through the Northwest Passage, through the Arctic Circle and north of Canada and coming up between Greenland and Canada, and then sailing across the Atlantic. So each of these routes has pros and cons. Going east through the Panama Canal has the benefit that it's shorter than going around Cape Horn or going west, and it would also take us through the Caribbean, which would be nice. Have some friends there and so on. But there's also some disadvantages. We would miss a lot of things in the Pacific if we go straight to the Panama Canal. Also, going east in the Caribbean Sea is quite difficult because the trade winds there in the winter, which is the time you want to be there, will come from the east, so it's very hard to sail into them to get anywhere. And the Panama Canal itself is very expensive. Going south around Cape Horn is really quite appealing to me. We could see a lot of really cool stuff in the Pacific Ocean on the way there, and the fjords of Chile are supposed to be really incredible, very remote of course, very beautiful, and of course going around Cape Horn is a really exciting challenge and opportunity. The disadvantage of going that way is that it's a really long way. It's probably about 20,000 miles without taking any detours. And once you're around Cape Horn, going up through the Atlantic, there's not necessarily many places to stop. It's really better to stay a good distance off the South American coast to get favorable currents. And there's not that many good ports on that coast, so it's a lot of miles without many places to stop once you get around the Horn. Now, going west is also a really long way, but throughout most of that voyage there would be regular places to stop. Even though there are some big crossings in the Pacific Ocean, they would mostly be trade wind crossings with the wind behind you and a little bit more straightforward. The advantage of going that way is that there's so many beautiful, incredible places that we would see along the way. It would be really interesting to sail through Asia and then through the Mediterranean, and it would be a really great way to see a lot of the Pacific Ocean, which makes sense because we're already here. The disadvantage of going west, and actually of going south as well, is that we don't actually have that much time. We're not going to be ready to leave before next summer, and between then and 2027, if we took either of those routes, we would really be quite rushed. There wouldn't be much time to stop and enjoy the places along the way. When you take into account the tropical storm seasons and trying to be in the right places at the right time, and the inevitable repairs that have to be done on the boat and the maintenance and so on, it wouldn't leave us with a lot of free time or leeway to really enjoy the voyage and spend time in places we like, and that seems like a shame. Now, the fourth option, going north through the Northwest Passage, is a really exciting idea, but very dangerous, and I'm not sure we're ready to do it. Going through the Northwest Passage has been getting easier and easier in recent years as there's less and less ice, and there are small sailboats that do it every year, but most of those boats are steel or aluminium and usually have been doing very high latitude sailing for a while. So to do it in Tally-Ho would be a little bit risky. There is always ice up there, and there is always a chance that it blocks the Northwest Passage and you can't get through and have to turn back. There's also the very real chance that you could get stuck up there and have to winter. You could lose the boat. So it is a little risky, but it's a really exciting idea. The advantage of that is, of course, just the adventure and the story, but also it would actually be the shortest distance to get into the Atlantic Ocean from where we are now. Right now, all four options are appealing to me, and I have not made a decision which way we're going to go. I've been doing a lot of reading of this book, Jimmy Cornell's World Cruising Routes, which is kind of the Bible for this sort of voyage planning. And I'm basically realizing that whichever way we go, it's probably going to be around March or April, which is going to be the right time to leave this area and head either north or south. And I'm interested to hear from anyone who's got experience doing any of these routes, but I've got to try and make a decision soon so we can start planning in earnest and get the boat ready for whichever route we're going to take. So I'm back up in the loft of the workshop now, where there's a little bit less dust and it's a little bit warmer, and the oars are ready to get some finish on them, some varnish. So I glued the blades onto the shafts using epoxy, and then used some epoxy filler, and then also just some kind of car body filler on top of that to make sure they're nice and smooth and fair here, and quite a bit of sanding of course. And then this little section will be painted over black. And I'm going to use all wood for this, which is a slightly kind of harder, tougher product than Tonkin wire that we use in a lot of places on the boat, but this is the stuff that's on the spars, and hopefully should be good for these, because you know, oars can get banged around a little bit. These are the ones I had borrowed that we'd been using all summer that belonged to Russell, and they weren't in great condition in terms of the finish when I got them, and then they were even worse by the time we'd finished using them. So I'm going to refinish these. We've already sanded them back to bare wood just to make sure I can give them back in better condition than I got them. And that's about it. Hopefully these will come out looking pretty nice.
Hi Patty, what you doing right now?
I'm painting the rubbish bin, y'all. Can't have an unpainted rubbish bin.
Hold on. What's that, Patty?
This right here?
What's that?
Oh, this right here? That's the spice rack for the galley. Yeah, isn't that great? Turmeric. Right now we're just cruising like a bunch of barbarians with our spices in a basket, as Leo would say.
So I've been varnishing these pretty manically over the last few days, and they're up to 8 coats now, plus the first coat of primer, and they're looking pretty good, I think. So they're nearly finished. I've just got to paint a small area here, just over where the kind of epoxy filler faired this out. So I'll just put a little bit of black paint there, and then I've got to leather them up here where they're going to rub against the oar locks, and then hopefully they'll be done.
Hey!
Hello. I was just about to knock. Got some oars for you.
Those can't be the same oars. They cannot.
I know, they cleaned up pretty nice, huh?
Oh my god! Wow. I like them.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for the loan.
Oh, you're so welcome. Come on in.
Yeah. I got the oar locks and stuff in the car. It's turned into a boat. Wow, it looks beautiful.
I've been a little bit too close to it for too long, so to me it just seems like it's barely happening, you know?
Yeah.
Minor little things happen.
Well, that's always the way.
Yeah. It's pretty light still, which I'm happy about. You can still lift the thing up on the cradle, so. Yeah, it's a folding trimaran, and those are the outrigger hull. Those are plywood too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be a big honking bowsprit that comes out through the front that sockets into a socket, so that's why it's so wide up there.
Right.
My friend Paul Beaker helped me figure out these two bulkheads where all the loads happen, figuring out how to reinforce the openings, and figured this whole thing out in about 20 minutes with his calculator. And it's all done in kips and newtons, like 5.2 kips. Somewhere there's newtons. I have no idea what that is. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
So I'm just testing out these oars for the first time, and I'm pretty pleased with them. They're a little bit different from the oars that I borrowed from Russell. I made them a little bit longer just to see how that feels, knowing that I can cut them down shorter very easily. And the shape's a little bit different. I like the shape of Russell's oars, but these blades, which I was given, have a round socket in them, which dictated the shape and size of these shafts. Now, while I've been making these oars, I've been doing a lot of planning, and although we don't know yet which route we're going to take back to the UK still, I have made a bit of a plan for the winter. And I think rather than doing the work that we need to do here in Port Townsend, we're actually going to head north and do some winter cruising and do that work on the way. We're going to cruise at a much slower pace, and we may do some of that work in anchorages, we may visit some other boatyards. I really want to keep using the boat and getting to know her, and I think doing that over the winter months will be really informative and useful. So we're going to head north, and I'm going to give up my workshop, which means clearing out a lot of tools. I'm going to put a lot of stuff in storage for the next project. And I do want to get moving quite soon because I want to cross the straits before the weather gets too wintry. So we've got a lot of work to do, and in the next video we're going to start clearing out the shop. Until then though, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive, massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference, and it means we're able to keep on doing what we do, making these videos and maintaining and using the boat. So thank you so much, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.